Hermes was no ordinary infant. Just a few hours after his birth, he escaped from his cradle in the cave where he lay with his mother Myra and set out to find a way to meet his father, Zeus. As the very embodiment of cleverness and mischief, Hermes was born ready for anything. His first victim? A turtle. Using his extraordinary ingenuity, he crafted the first lyre from its shell. But Hermes, ever restless, didn't stop there. He knew exactly what he wanted and aimed high. He stumbled upon the unattended cattle of his famous brother, Apollo, and promptly stole 50 of them. Yes, Apollo, among his many titles, also had the role of herdsman. And yes, a newborn god pulled off this heist. Hermes, after all, was a god, and gods are born with their powers fully intact and ready to use. To avoid being discovered, Hermes made the cattle walk backward, creating tracks that pointed in the wrong direction. He then hid the cattle in a cave, and feeling hungry after his mischievous adventure, decided to sacrifice 2 of them to the gods. An act said to be the first sacrifice ever made to the Olympians. Of course, he kept the best parts for himself, because why let good meat go to waste? After all, he was destined to join the gods one day. He even saved the horns and entrails to perfect his lyre. Exhausted from his cunning exploits, Hermes returned to his mother's cave, slipped back into his cradle, and fell fast asleep before dawn. The next morning, Apollo, the god of foresight, noticed his missing cattle and began to investigate. But all he found were backward hoof prints and confusion. You can almost picture him scratching his head in frustration while baby Hermes smirked in his sleep. Of course, Apollo wasn't fooled for long. Using his prophetic powers, he tracked Hermes down to the cave. When accused, Hermes put on an Oscar-worthy performance of feigned ignorance, delivering what could be called history's first masterclass in bluffing. Who, me? I'm just a baby. I don't even know what a cow is. Nice try, Hermes. Apollo wasn't buying it and dragged the infant troublemaker to Olympus for judgment. Zeus, amused by his son's clever antics, demanded the truth. Seeing the game was up, Hermes confessed and, as a peace offering, gave Apollo the lyre he had crafted. The moment Apollo played its strings, his anger melted into admiration. Music, as it turns out, has a way of calming even the brightest of gods. Impressed, Apollo forgave Hermes and went a step further by gifting him the caduceus, a staff entwined with 2 serpents, which would become Hermes' iconic symbol. From that moment on, Hermes was no longer just the mischievous infant. He became the divine messenger, tasked with bridging Olympus, Earth, and the underworld. Everything went exactly as Hermes had planned. He hadn't chosen just any shepherd to steal from. He targeted the radiant Apollo because he had his sights set on Olympus from the very beginning. This was a god who knew how to achieve his goals, even from the cradle. Like his sister Athena, who sprang fully grown and armed from Zeus's head, Hermes was born ready to accomplish the impossible. Gods, after all, are born, not made. While Athena represented wisdom and discipline, Hermes embodied cleverness and quick thinking. Athena had no childhood, as wisdom demands maturity, but Hermes lived as an eternal teenager, full of energy and adaptability, qualities that resonate with all ages. Hermes became the protector of merchants, travelers, athletes, and even thieves, a fitting role for the god who pulled off Olympus's greatest heist. Unlike other gods who were distant and unapproachable, Hermes felt close to mortals. He was the mischievous friend you couldn't stay mad at, no matter how much trouble he caused. Hermes reminds us that greatness doesn't always require seriousness. Sometimes it's about quick thinking, clever ideas, and bending the rules. Just ask Apollo's backward-walking cattle. His story celebrates ingenuity and daring, showing us the value of thinking outside the box. Next time you pull off a clever solution to a tricky problem, perhaps Hermes is quietly cheering you.